Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy,
invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy,
building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 105. Today's show is brought to you by Deborah C. Owen, Family and Life Coach at youcanraisegreatkids.com. If you are tired of worrying about the choices your kid is making, or tired of the stress of constantly arguing with your kids or them arguing with each other, then don't wait until you are truly desperate. Get the help you and your family need and deserve today. Connect with your kids with calm compassion. Call Deborah Owen at 978-835-4354. Hi everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms. I'm Debbie Owen from youcanraisegreatkids.com.
And I'm Wendy Williams from connectagain.org.
And Linda Tighe from allwellbreaksloose.com.
And we are really happy to have you with us today around our kitchen table. And we just had an amazing conversation. We say that all the time, but truly, Rockie Lee, thank you so much for being with us today, Rockie. An incredible conversation about vision. And how to have a vision for your family, for your relationship with your kids, for your life, for your business, for your work, and why vision is important, and how to go about identifying a vision.
Yeah.
Wow.
And pulling us forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? As opposed to staying stuck in the mundane, that vision is just so important to kind of help clarify things. It was really a powerful conversation. And I wish we had talked a little bit more about his totally eclectic background.
Yeah, he's got a lot.
I'd love to look at his resume and be like, what, like a tennis ball going up, down, back and forth all over the place. But he's really created a spot for himself in the world where he's really on point and has his own vision. He lives what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think very inspiring for me because I have a very varied background. So I was like,
I
put it all together.
All do. We all have a really varied background. And I guess the point about that is, just take bits, and we were just talking about that a moment ago off camera, how you take bits and pieces of all these things that you've been learning and working with, and people that you've met, and things that you've learned, and wisdom that you've gained from this person and that person and this training and that course and that experience, and you put it all together and you create a life for yourself. And the core values that Rockie talked about are what are really important about that, because if you have a vision for what's the bottom line, I think we didn't get to that, but I think that's really what it is. What's the bottom line in my relationship with my husband or with my kids? What's the bottom line in what do I want to accomplish with my business? Well, I want to help people, right? So what does that mean? How that can look like a lot of different things.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think that, he did kind of bottom line it in the sense of saying, when you're on your deathbed, how are you going to spend, if somebody said you got an hour left, what are you going to do with that hour? Chances are very, very good that you're not going to be talking about what you did or didn't do at the office. Chances are very good that you're going to be saying, I want to make sure that I talk or hang out with or spoon with this one. You know what I mean? Like it's just so powerful. And I don't know if I wish I could say her name, but Google registered nurse, Australia, hospice, and what you'll get is this woman who was a hospice nurse for many years interviewed people, and she said, this is what people say on their deathbed. And it was like the top 10 things that people talk about when they're near that curtain, near that door. And none of it has to do with work.
None of it has to do with work.
None of it.
Yeah.
And I know, you're probably listening and thinking, that's all well and good, but I have to work because I have to make money and I have to put food on the table and I have to do all those things. But really the purpose of thinking about that, as Rockie was saying, was just to have that help formulate your core values and
what kind of work
and then what kind of vision you want to have. And I really found it fascinating that not only your vision about what maybe you want to do for work, but your vision as a couple, your vision as a family. How do we vision ourselves, visualize who we want to be as a family, as a couple? And I don't think I've ever really thought about it that way, to be honest, with with my husband or with my kids. I know we have one, and I know we share the same core values, but I haven't really thought about actually what's our vision, or sitting down and talking about what's our vision of ourselves, you know. So, I found that, to me, that was one of the most enlightening things. He said everything he said was amazing, but that for me is something I just never thought about that way.
Right. Yeah, because what you do is once you identify what your values are, that informs how you make decisions consciously.
Right. Yep.
And what I was just telling Wendy and Linda a moment ago was I actually did a values clarification process this last week with my coach, Brandon, and what I found out was so many of the choices that I've been making over the last few years in particular really come down to the 5 core values that he helped me identify. And now that it's conscious for me, I can go ahead and say, all right, for all of my decisions coming up, I'm going to make sure that they
feed into those,
resonate with those core values, because then I will feel good and I'll be living in my own truth. And we talked about truth with Rockie too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. I love what you said about the values clarification and how it just makes everything much easier in a given day. Like, that's real, you know, I could answer that phone call from that person, but that person usually likes to talk a really long time, and I'm concentrating on this right now. It just really helps make some decisions. It helps you make decisions within the day, within the week, and so forth. And I think I've heard, when you talked about, you know, your family, I've heard other people talk about having a family mission statement. I wonder if that's the same as a vision.
Sure.
A mission statement, like
Yeah.
a standard operating procedures. Like, this is how we want to be. We want to be, you know, the group that's always, you know, polite in you know, mixed company. You know, this would be for little kids or whatever. Or we want to be the kind of people that, you know, pitch in and help. We want to be the kind of people that go to the homeless shelter on big holidays rather than, you know, spending a lot of money on food for ourselves. We want to go and, you know, who knows? But I think that so people, you probably have something like that, maybe, I don't know. But it's a mission statement. That's another way I've heard it.
And that's
family.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I encourage my clients to do, or when I speak with groups, is to develop a mission statement, and I have a process that I go through to help them figure that out.
Yeah.
And it is really important, because then you get the kids' buy-in into what the family values are. Now, individual values can be a little bit different, but the family values are important, because then you post it up on the refrigerator. You say, this is the mission, this is who we are, this is what we stand for. And then when you make decisions, you can make them based on,
Against that.
go look at the refrigerator. What does it say?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
am I going to add another activity to my schedule this week or not?
Right.
Am I going to say yes to this or no to that? Am I going to reach out and apologize to someone? Am I going to make it up to my little brother because I broke something of his? You know, it's all based on the family mission statement and the family values. And the relation, and it's, again, back to the relationships that we want to have with each other. What do we envision that looking like if it were perfect? We're not perfect. It will never be perfect. But what are the steps that we can put into place to help us reach for what our vision for that perfect family would be?
Because we just fall into the day-to-day mundane things so easily. They're so captivating. There's another term for that, tyranny of the urgent, right? The tyranny of the urgent. Like, and you just kind of forget, you know, where you're going. And you mentioned, I think, Linda, you mentioned when we were talking with Rockie about that you have a vision for your business, that you have a vision for lots of different things, but all of a sudden you were like, a vision for my marriage. And when you said it, I was thinking to myself, I don't think I have that either. It feels like, although I could easily come up with 5 things that are important to Jeff and I know that he would agree with me. I'm confident. However, it would be good to make it more explicit and write it down.
How cool would that be? You know, go out for dinner on a Friday night. Take a pad of paper and say, let's create a mission or a vision for our marriage here.
Right.
And what are our values that are going to drive all of our decisions and our interactions?
And I think I'm gonna step out on a limb right now.
Oh, goody.
I think part of it is you think you have to have a vision for your career. You have to have a vision for, you know, it's the money coming in, the sort of taking care of your family that way. And I wonder if that's coming out of, the women's movement, now we're expected to be more like men, right? So we're in this sort of conflict phase of womanhood, where we're still trying to be the caretaker of the family, but we're trying to be the super business person as well. And maybe this is what women will bring into the family, the workplace, is like, let's refocus. We need to also have this vision for our families and our couples. Well, not only women. Obviously, Rockie was telling us, and he's
Not a woman.
not a woman. But anyway, it just made me just, I don't know, I was just sort of feeling like, oh yeah, that's really kind of the quote feminine aspect of, because we all have female aspects of ourselves, but kind of coming back in and saying, yeah, but let's not forget about the vision for the family. Because I think women in the past had a clear vision. Very clear, because it was their sole focus, right? But it's not our sole focus anymore, and so we can't let go of it and forget about it.
Right.
Or we get into these mundane relationships or 7-year itch or whatever, and it happens, and who are you? And I don't know you anymore. And where does that come from? It comes from not focusing on it and not creating a vision for who we want to be as a couple and how we want to be as a family.
Right.
And letting those little trivial things get in the way of what the bigger, more important, overarching ideas are.
Right.
Rockie was right. We argue about the stupid little things, and then we even forget what we're arguing about in our desire to be right.
Yeah.
And that's
And one of the things that I've been reading about a lot and studying a lot about is the 21st century marriage. And there is a new rule book. We can't look back to the way our moms did things. We just can't, because it's not the same. Our parents really had what's called a companionship marriage, and we have more of an intimate marriage where we want deep, intimate relationship in a physical way, not necessarily sexual, and a sexual way, and an intellectual way, and a spiritual way, and an emotional way, and we want deep connection on all those domains. And that's not what our parents, they were like, I do this, you do that, we get along really well, and our family's doing well. Good job, great marriage, we've had a good time. And there's more now. We want more.
Well, I'm going to push back just a little bit. I don't think that all parents of our generation's parents, let's put it that way, would say that they didn't have those deep connections on all of those levels.
Oh, I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm just saying that the expectation was more of a team and let's move forward. And there was more siloed responsibilities, if you will. And now
that is true. There were definitely siloed responsibilities.
And now women are saying, why do I have to be the one that is concerned about how come you don't know when the children's next PTA meeting is? How come you don't know when
I work too,
that so and so needs new soccer shoes?
We both work.
We both work. So there's this drive, like, why aren't you as concerned with the things of our family as I am? You should be, you could be, you're a smart guy, you go to work every day, they pay you. You must know how to do things, so why is this such a mysterious realm? And so we have a different way of being in relationship. And so one of the core teachings of this 21st century marriage is that how can I show up for you and how can you show up for me in the relationship? It's like a third entity. It's not just me and you. It's the relationship itself. And so there's some interesting work to be done there. And I kind of heard Rockie touching on that a little bit, is that we're stuck in that, I want to be right, as opposed to saying what's in service to our relationship, what's in service to the vision that we have for our marriage and and how we're being in the world. And it isn't about whether I'm right, technically right. It's about peace, and it's about the fact that I love you. And if anybody else were talking to you like this, I'd be really mad. It's not I don't want to be the person that's beating you up for being wrong or something.
Right.
So, I really appreciated so much of what he had to say. I'm looking forward to getting on his website. I especially want to see his photographs.
Oh yeah, I should tell you, if you're interested in his photography, which we didn't get to mention in the original interview, I'll make sure that it's in the show notes. But his website is rockielee.com, and that's ROCKIELEE. So it's rockielee.com, and that's where you can see his photography, and it is stunning. And you will see that his subjects go through a journey and really feel beautiful in themselves, and he helps bring out the beauty that they feel about themselves.
Yeah,
it's really
that's what I can't wait to see, because the way he spoke about that it's not just snapping pictures so people have something great to put on their website or put on their engagement page or wherever they're putting their photographs, but it is a process by which he helps them articulate, I guess, and verbalize their own sense of their worth
Yeah.
and what they're great at or whatever, and he's able to capture that on film. And I just can't wait to see all
great
these,
stuff.
because his mode of working with people is so, you said he's an old soul. I don't know how old he is, but he's very, very wise. Very, very wise. And he just really had so much to share with us. It was great.
One of the things that I also really liked too was he does a lot of coaching for singles, either young adults or people who've been divorced or people who have never married and would like to marry. What he does is he helps them look at commonalities versus compatibility. And I think that that's really powerful. I know that he has a specific process for single people to go through. They look at their values and they identify the things that are really critical for them. And one of the things that he tells single people if they're looking for a mate or a partner of some sort is to identify 2 to 4 people who can be kind of the guardians of their hearts. So that they go through this process with Rockie, identifying what their non-negotiables are, and then they tell these 2 or 3 people what their non-negotiables are, and they say, if I am ever in a relationship where I am allowing myself to negotiate one of my non-negotiables, I give you permission to tell me. Because it's so hard to tell someone, that you really care about if they're in a relationship that you don't think is good for them.
Yes.
It's really hard because then they'll become defensive.
Totally.
Right?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, totally. But what you do is you find 2 or 3 people who are the guardians of your heart, and you give them permission to speak to that.
To give you feedback on that. That's a really good idea. I love that idea, actually. Yeah. The whole realm of people who've been divorced and are scared to do it again. That's a very tender-hearted place to be. Yeah. So to actually have somebody say, help me stay, focused, and help me stay in a place that's safe for me and where I can actually take a risk and connect again with somebody else.
Right.
It's really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the last little bit before we sign off here is, a couple of the concrete tips that Rockie gave us were, think about regrets. If you only had 24 hours left in your day,
In your life,
excuse me. If you only had 24 hours left in your life, how would you spend it? And what's that?
And if you have
What might you regret?
And what might you regret? And flip those. Say, I regret that I never learned how to downhill ski. I regret the fact that I didn't go, spend time with my grandchildren. Then turn that into a positive and say, okay, I got to put some time on my calendar to spend with my grandchildren.
Right.
And then the other important tip he gave us too was stepping out in faith with that great example from the Indiana Jones. I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes.
Tell us again.
Yeah, it's where Indiana Jones is facing this huge chasm and he knows he needs to get to the other side. There's no way to get to the other side, and there's no rope, there's no bridge, and he realizes that part of the riddle is he's been going through a series of riddles to get to this point. This is the last one, and he knows the answer to the riddle is to step out in faith. So that's what he does. He steps out, and once he steps on the bridge, his perspective changes because now he can see the bridge. When he was standing there cowering, he couldn't see the bridge. He didn't have the right perspective. And I think that's just such a powerful image. I mean, clearly the filmmakers got it right, because I've heard that referred to over and over again, and I'm glad that Rockie brought that up. But stepping out in faith and being willing to move out of that box that we may be in, that, what are the other models that are out there? Don't be afraid to step out in faith and try something.
Realize it's your perception.
Yeah.
Yes.
So your perception and fear was no bridge.
Right.
When you decide to step out, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just couldn't see it before when you were kind of immobilized by fear.
Exactly. Thank you for articulating that.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's the difference between hope and faith.
That's it. The difference between hope and faith. Yeah. Where you
I hope it'll happen. I hope this will.
you give yourself a way out.
You're not really believing
You're not committed.
it.
Yeah,
You're not really believing it. But this
When you
is
have
so
faith,
gonna happen. I'm on it. Is faith, confidence. I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Yeah. Great
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And that's about, your relationships. It's about decisions that you make. It's about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good stuff. Thank you, Rockie.
Thank you,
Great
Rockie.
to have you with us. And your website again is claritycoach.ca,
Which is Canada.
Yeah, Canada. And if you want to find his photography, it's at rockielee.com. So everybody, thank you so much for being with us again at Mighty Married Moms. We hope that you've gotten a lot out of our conversations this week with Rockie Lee and our breakdown today.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Please make sure that you share this.
Go to iTunes.
Go to iTunes, leave us a rating and a review. That would be a big help. We would really love it. And we will bring you more great stuff next week. So we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.